What's up, people? It's your boy Perfection back again for part 2. Before we get into it, I want to clear up that even though I mentioned Michi X in my last video, I am not a fan of Michi X. I watched one or two videos of her because I stumbled across her when I was stumbled across a lot of black leaders or black speakers from America. I stumbled across her, but I don't really support a lot of what she says because Michi X is very kind of um, I got to understand that America is a lot different than the UK. They're facing a lot harder battles over there, and America is segregated country. They're not integrated, so it is literally black and white. We're not dealing with that over here. But I'm not. So I'm not want to make it clear. I'm not a fan of Michi X, but I was using an example of what she was saying. All right, and another thing I want to say is that one thing. I have said some quite controversial things, and I have talked about my race way before this whole George Floyd thing. I was on here. As you know, check the dates on it. I think the George Floyd thing happened on, what was it, the 25th of May or whatever. Check the date yourself. I've been talking about racism way before George Floyd. Okay? But one thing I did always say to people anyway out there watching is that you're not gonna get, you're not gonna get 50 videos into you're not going to be watching my videos and saying, yeah, I kind of get a little feel for this dude, and then 50 videos into it realize that I'm some sort of hardcore racist that hates your race, whether you be Chinese, whether you be white, whether you be Indian or whatever. You then get 50 videos into it. I'm talking about using racist words, you're this, and then you say, damn, man, I was actually feeling this dude. Now I've gone and wasted 20 hours of my time only to find out he's a racist. That's what kind of happened with a guy called Jeremy Clarkson. He was on this program where they talk about cars, and people admired him, people followed him. He would be he had 3 other guests on the show, and behind them would be hundreds of men. I think it was Men and Motors, something along the lines of that. I can't remember what it was. Hundreds of men behind them of all colours and of all races, and they're cheering this guy on because he's such a good guy. And then we come to realise that the guy's a racist and he's been on TV for the last 12 years. What's so amazing is they've actually put him back on TV. After he was found out to be a racist, he then got offered a 20 million contract of Amazon, and then he went from there to then suddenly appearing back on TV. And it's just shocking. It's just shocking to know that they actually praised in Britain for being racist. But getting back, you don't have to stumble way into my videos, get a little feel for me, then to realize that I'm some sort of racist towards your race. I'm not a racist. I do not condone racists at all. Okay, let's get back into this whole thing. We've talked about supermarkets. We've talked about the guy going for the job. One thing I did miss out on in the jobs, a friend of mine, funny enough, the very same friend that I tried to explain what racism is for the last 12 years, turned around and said to me, my son can't get a basic job. He's white and he cannot get a basic job. So yes, I will definitely put out there that it is most likely that when white people go for basic £5 per hour jobs, basic £8 an hour job, minimum wage jobs, that they will be competing with black people, Chinese and Indian, and they may not get to where they want to be. They may not get the job, period. Okay? What I would say to those people is exactly what my brother D.L. Hewley said in America, and that's that you're not using your whiteness properly. That's what I told her as well. I said your son is silly to go for lower income paid jobs because you can do a lot better. And I tried to explain to her what white supremacy was, white privilege was. She didn't get it. Your son can do a lot better. The doors are open for your son. Okay? Why he's looking for a job like that is stupid. Maybe because of his own ignorance, basically. But let's get back to other jobs anyway. Let's get back to other things. Right, so we've talked about the supermarket. We've talked about the jobs. Right, so again, another third scenario would be a club. Imagine when you walk into, we'll say about 80% of clubs in the UK. You've gone from Harvard. Maybe you're well respected in your community for looking after the children there, the kids there. You've done all kinds of things. You're a role model. When you walk into a club versus the other guy now, you walk into that club now as that black person, all of a sudden now they don't want you to let you into the club. They're making up some sort of excuse as to why you can't go in there. Sorry, you can't go in the club. Why is that? Why can't I go in the club? Oh, mate, let me see. Basically, you can't wear those shoes. These shoes? Huh? Really? But I walked past this club and I've seen people outside in the smoking area with those kind of shoes on. So, listen, mate, I ain't gonna argue with you, yeah? You can't get in the club with that. Um, Go back there the next week. Maybe they turn around and make up something else now. Sorry, mate. In fact, I even went into one club and it got to the stage where he couldn't find an excuse. And in the end, he told me, your clothes are too cheap, he said to me. And that was another excuse that he used. But it was just nothing but excuses. So in the end, my official club clothes were smart, were too cheap to get into the club, you know. Now imagine again, we switch back to the paedophile, the rapist, all that kind of guy, the guy that steals candy from a baby, but because of this colour of his skin, when he walks up into the queue, the bouncer goes, yeah mate, yep, good, yep, and he may even put his hand out to the guy and goes, yeah mate, yep, good, yep, walk through, yep, next, like that. It's as simple as that. Because of that colour of his skin, he gets to suddenly, he doesn't have to worry about all of that kind of drama, all of that kind of problem. Now I'm going to go into a story about a pub that I went into. I'm going to tell you one story. I remember going into a pub with a friend of mine, and sometimes, you know, that friend may have the odd drink, and you know, he likes to have a laugh with people around him. He likes to tease people around him. And I remember us walking outside, and because he wanted to have a smoke at the time, and there was this guy outside, and he's talking to this guy, and I think the guy didn't really want to talk to him, to be honest with you, most likely because I was with me. But remember, my friend is white, he is Caucasian. So he's talking to this guy, having this conversation with this guy, and I don't think this guy is really interested, this or that, but he's having a little laugh with him, you know, maybe teasing him, and then the guy says something quite rude and disrespectful, right? And my friend was like, what are you talking to? Yeah, like he says to him, like, who are you talking to there? You know what I mean? What were you trying to say? And he starts raising his voice to the guy, and the guy suddenly gets really panicky and scared. Okay, this white guy, he gets really panicky and scared. And I'm not going to lie to you, when my friend was actually having a laugh with this guy, although if you ask the person in the pub, he'll probably say, well, he wasn't having a laugh, he was trying to take the piss at me and all of that. When he was having a laugh with this guy, I've known him for a long time, he can be a bit of a joker, I was actually laughing along. You know, even though the guy's face was being serious when he was answering him his questions, I was actually laughing along. But I can remember when he started raising his voice to the guy, my friend started raising his voice at the guy because he said something quite disrespectful, or, you know, he was quite upset, the guy was upset and, you know, said something rude or whatever, and my friend had to go at him. I remember that obviously it was, the fun and jokes had ended there, so I just was like quite quiet. But I remember that as we went back into the pub, I was sitting down with my friend having a drink and this and that same guy walked up to me, and he turned around and he goes to me, you know, he goes, yeah, you're nothing but a troublemaker. You cause all these problems. Yeah, you come in here and you cause all these problems. And he walks off. He was oblivious to the fact that my friend had been having a laugh with him, maybe to a certain degree, maybe, you know, did threaten him at one stage, fair enough, it is that. I never said a word to the guy. Never said 2 words to this guy. Oblivious to all of that. But forget the fact that, you know, it was my friend that was white that was having a laugh with him or teasing him, whatever. I threatened him. I'm the one to blame. He suddenly assumes that I am influencing my friend because of the colour of my skin to be a bully. I'm the one that's the cause of it. Okay? That, my friend, is white privilege. I'm doing something. That is white privilege. And then there's something else, and then we're going to go into regards to countries. Imagine that. Here's another example. Again, you're a paedophile, you're a rapist, guy that steals candy from the baby, and this and that. But the colour of your skin is white. Okay. Imagine that when you jump on a plane, all of the black countries that say in your own country are looked down upon, that are suppressed, because we've gone into jobs and we said that, you know, they're prevented at certain places from occupying certain jobs, prevented from going to certain schools. Um, systematic racism, which basically means that from the time they enter the world, there may be systematic racism in the nursery. There may be systematic racism going on in the early schools with their kids. There may be racism happening when they reach primary, infantry, primary, secondary, from the way the teachers deal with them as to opposed how they deal with it. So, where was I going with this? Where was I going with all of this? Yeah, so when this person goes abroad and he's left a country where black people are being treaded on, okay, being looked down upon and everything else, when he goes to another country as that white person, and it happens to be a black country, rather than him experience the same kind of racism that black people are experiencing in his country, and we're talking about the same paedophile here, the same baby stealer, whatever, evil person, bad person. When he goes to that black country, he gets to use his white supremacy, white privilege, to then almost like a shield, because if he gets attacked or whatever, it hits the tourist industry, it hits tourism, therefore affects the money of that black country, i.e. that black country is surviving on, you might as well say to a certain degree, on, foreign people's handouts. Okay, I was watching a program the other day that said basically Jamaica is still being enslaved. There's parts of Africa that's still been enslaved. They've never been given back their independence. They still experience slavery. But when this guy goes to other countries, he's still experiencing, he still gets to experience better treatment than what other black people traveling to that country would experience. He gets to experience all of that through the color of his skin. So basically, he becomes almost like God in any part of the world. That's white supremacy. Okay. The last example I will give to you guys. We can throw in there. We can throw in. Why not throw in prison sentences as well? We can throw in the cops. We can say he's more likely again. That paedophile. When he's in his car and he's driving around, he can pull up to certain areas and look at little kids, and no cop will bat an eyelid based upon the colour of his skin. He can literally go to a playground, even though he's been convicted of these things, paedophilia, even though he's known to be a bad person, whatever, all of the negative things you can think of, he can then still pull up to a playground and sit down there and look at kids, because his white skin means that he's no threat to people. Whereas the black guy from Harvard now, when he's walking along the street or he's in his car, he's likely to be pulled over because of the colour of his skin. Okay, he's more likely to, and if he is guilty of an offence, then he's likely to do a larger and longer prison sentence. So he's likely to get a harsher fine and a longer prison sentence based upon the colour of his skin. Even though that particular black person could be a model citizen, he could be, he could be a role model for his community. He could have done a hell of a lot of things. Based upon his black skin, these are the issues he has to face. Okay. So with that, right, so the last thing I'm going to say is a very simple one, and that's the Monopoly board. The last thing I'll say before I get into racism in my next video, and then I'll end it for you guys, and that's that. Imagine that we're playing a game of Monopoly, and basically one person on the board, you're sitting down with all of your friends and this and that, they're all mixed, and one of them happens to be Caucasian, and we're playing Monopoly, and then all of a sudden he lands on someone's property, and you go rent, and he says, I don't need to pay rent. And you say, what do you mean you don't need to pay rent? Stop being silly. And he says, I don't need to pay rent. And he says, stop being stupid, man, you're going to pay rent. And he says, all right. He goes, check the rules, check the rules. And he says, what do you mean check the rules? He says, check the rules, mate. And he says, stop being stupid, my rent. And he hands you the rent. He says, look, I'll pay you to give you the rent, but I don't need to pay rent. And he says, but I'll give it to you. Say, shut up, man, just give me the money. Stop being stupid, you're ruining the game. You're ruining the game, okay? He gives you the money, okay? Later on, he then has to go to jail. Again, he says the same thing. I don't need to go to jail. And you say, listen, what are you talking about? Of course you need to go to jail. He says, I don't need to. And you say, listen, stop being silly. And he said, look, check the rules. And again, you turn around and you say, I don't need to read the rules. This is Monopoly. I know how Monopoly goes. Okay? And this time he goes, no, I'm insisting. And you say, look, stop cheating. Otherwise, we're just going to end the whole game. We will end the whole game. Stop cheating. And he says, all right, I will go to jail, but that's it. Very last thing happens now. He's in jail. Most of the properties, as you know, of Monopoly, once all of the properties are bought, when you shake the dice and you first initially come out, I think there's the brown, Bromley by Bow. There's the browns, and I think there's the pinks, isn't there? Right? And you don't want to come out and land on one of those. So sometimes strategically, you may wait to come out of jail and all of that. But let's assume that if you get a double, you have to come out. But and obviously you don't pay in a double. But let's assume that he didn't get a double in any three of his goes, and he suddenly comes out and he lands on he has to land on the highest paid brown part, Vine Street or something like that. As he comes out of jail, he has to land on the highest paid part. Imagine that his third goes up now and he has to come out of jail, and you go, right, you owe me £900, and he turns around and he says to you, I'm sorry, right, that's it, guys, I don't need to pay you that. And you say, well, what do you mean? And he says, I don't need to. And you say, well, what do you mean? And then he goes, look, check the rules. And this time he pulls out the rules, and the rule says, provided you are white, you don't need to pay rent when you land on someone's property. You don't need to go to jail if you land on going to jail. And you have a get out of jail card free. You have an unlimited amount of get out of jail cards free. Now imagine he shows the rest of the people in the room that, and they turn around and they go, what? And he says, I told you. And then people say, you know, if that's the case, I ain't playing the game then, mate. I ain't gonna play it. I ain't gonna play it. What's the point in us even playing the game? And that's similar to the situation that we're facing today, where a lot of black people have given up and we said, fuck it, sorry, I apologise. They've said, look, to hell with this then. If that's truly the case, then there's no point in me playing by the rules then, is there? What's the point in me playing by the rules if you're 10 levels above me, basically? I have no chance of winning. You know, but guys, I'm going to do one more video and we're going to get into racism, and then we're going to leave it at that. Thank you for staying by me. I'll see you around for part 3. Peace.